Sending data. Well, we're waiting for streaming. Looks like streaming on X.
Hello, everyone.
And we are there. It's still sending data to the YouTubes and YouTube streaming. Let's see about Rumble. Can we get Rumble too?
Come on, Rumble.
We'll see. If it doesn't come up anytime soon, we'll just keep going. And, well, so welcome to the Jeff and Jeff podcast. My name is David.
Mine's Jeff.
I should probably change that so it's, whatever.
Anyhow.
It's fine. All right. Today in the news, we've got Trump's big beautiful bill, social engineering at Coinbase, nuclear, just general nuclear. There's a genocide, maybe, possibly. Who knows?
But the reporters are idiots.
Well, yeah. Harvard. Do we care about Harvard? And Starship. I care about Starship. Starship's fun. So, that's what we got in the news today. And I guess we'll get started.
Let her rip.
So Trump's big, beautiful bill. Where are we? Ah, yes. My favorite part of it is the Hearing Protection Act. Now, of course, this hasn't passed through the Senate. So we're still waiting for that. And I think it's going to. I don't see a reason why it won't pass the Senate. But if it doesn't, it'd be sad. But I'm excited about it. So what's the Hearing Protection Act? Tell us what the Hearing Protection Act is.
It removes the $200 tax on owning a suppressor. Now, the common use, what they call that, is a silencer. But it doesn't make the gun silence like in the movies. It reduces the noise so you don't
significantly,
have hearing,
but not completely.
Right. So you don't have hearing damage like I do from shooting when I was a child.
Well, that and for home defense applications is actually really helpful because in an open environment, loud sounds are a lot easier to deal with because they just go.
Yes.
Right? If you didn't know, sound waves are waves and they just go. Inside a house or inside an enclosed area, they bounce off the walls.
And if you want to hear something really freaking loud, set up some plywood to go like a hallway. It would be like the equivalent of a hallway, and take your hearing protection off and shoot a 12 gauge. You will feel like you've gone deaf. And people have 12 gauges a lot for their home protection gun.
Yeah.
And
it's not really, honestly, the best thing for home protection. It's kind of fun, though. I like 12 gauges. Do you know what the best home defense weapon is?
In my opinion, I do.
Okay. Well, your opinion could be right or wrong depending if it matches with my opinion.
There you go. Yes, exactly.
AR-15.
I agree.
And if you get a silencer on that, woo, you're doing good.
If you were to reduce that,
I shot one with a silencer.
Did you?
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice.
It's a suppressor, not a silencer.
Suppressor, whatever. I shot one with a can, okay?
Yeah.
So this is my favorite part of the big, beautiful bill. There's one other part of they were asking for gun rights advocates that didn't get added. They're hoping that the Senate adds it. It has to do with the short-barreled rifles and such, getting rid of those regulations that are dumb. We'll see if that happens.
They're incredibly stupid.
They are. But this is pretty dumb as well.
Yes.
So I'm glad this is in it. The other part of the big, beautiful bill I'll throw out there is no funding for USAID in the one big, beautiful bill. There's a lot of people on both sides who just don't understand how to talk about this. It does cut spending. Maybe it doesn't cut it enough. We can argue about that. But to say it doesn't cut spending is wrong.
It will balloon our deficit, and that's one of the big issues with it.
Yes and no. So
yes, it will.
The goal is to spark economic growth. If we can get enough economic growth, then our deficit isn't going to get as bad. And
as a product of the GDP, correct. It won't be, and you'll bring more revenue in.
Politics is difficult. If you didn't know that, it's kind of sucks because there's so many corrupt people.
Correct.
So to actually cut spending, you have to have a lot, and I mean a lot of political willpower and clout. Trump has some, but he doesn't have enough to convince the Republicans who are squishy in the House
The
and Senate
rhinos.
to vote for it.
Just call them what they are.
They are rhinos. And so he's got to do things to build his political clout so that he can force them to do what he wants.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually pretty disappointed in my previous two favorite House and Senate people, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, because I actually do agree with Trump about his comments about Thomas Massie. He doesn't actually know how government works. I believe that because he knows how government used to work, and then Trump happened. And government works different now because Trump actually has political power and sway where no other Republican president has. And instead of using his sway, which honestly isn't a whole lot because most of the people in the House ignore him, to help Trump, he just grandstands.
So there's another way to look at it.
I know. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
The other way to look at it is that he has a set of core principles, and one of the core principles is we spend too much money as a government, and so he's going to vote against anything that increases the debt.
So my problem with that is reality exists, and if you're not willing to realize reality exists and do your best to deal with the current reality, you will never get anything you want accomplished. And that is what has happened with the libertarians over the last decade or more, is they take these principled positions.
Not decade, the last 100 years.
100 years. They take these principled positions. Oh, we're so much better because we stand on principle, and get literally nothing accomplished.
Yeah.
So you can have principles, but you have to recognize the reality. And I think that's the problem with Thomas Massie right now, is that he has principles, and I appreciate his principles. But he's unwilling to work with an administration that is actually trying to move in the direction he wants to move.
Well, one of the things that was good about the administration that happened this week is they actually marked 11.3 million people who were on the Social Security rolls that were over 120 as deceased.
Yeah.
That means those Social Security numbers can no longer be used in fraud. They can no longer be used in voting.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful thing. But 11.3 million people.
It's insane. But that's what I don't get. That's what I don't get about Rand Paul either, is he tried to get a vote in the Senate to stop Trump from negotiating on tariffs. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Can you just leave office if that's what you're going to do?
I couldn't believe that either. That one I didn't understand, because I don't understand the principles that he's standing up for.
Correct.
I'm okay if you have good principles and you're sticking with them. And if you do stupid things with it, I'm still okay with it because you're sticking with your principles. That I didn't understand, because Trump is just negotiating. You can tell.
Oh, yeah.
It's just negotiation. So I'm going to put a 500% tariff on you if you don't come come to the negotiating table.
It's just disappointing to me, both of them, because I am tired of people in the House and the Senate who talk a big game and never get anything accomplished. And that is literally what both of them have done, is they say, we're for small government, reduce spending, all this stuff, and yet they vote no on everything, and therefore none of the things they stand for ever move forward.
Yeah.
And so I don't, as I've gotten older, and I'm so much wiser in my old age, I'm getting closer to 40. I've begun to realize that principles are important. You want to live your life by principles, but you have to understand that reality exists as well. And so you have to work inside reality with your principles to try to get things accomplished. And it means that you don't always get what you want right away, but you have to have that long-term vision of, well, if I make one step here, I can hopefully make another step here. Yeah. And they don't seem to see that at all. No. And that's the thing that's disappointing. Yes, this bill isn't great. We all knew it wasn't going to be great because we don't have a large majority in the House or the Senate. So there's going to be some slop and some crap in there, but does it move us in the direction we want to go? And I think it is yes, it does.
Well, especially with the USAID funding cut, that's a slush fund for the Democrats and the rhinos. And so
Yes, it is.
if we get rid of that, that should
Midterms going to be fun, aren't they?
midterms are going to be fun. And with Act Blue, which it's not on our thing, but I don't know if everybody saw that Act Blue refused to come before Congress this week and testify. So it's one of those things where it's the same corruption because they raised billions of dollars, and there's been a lot of investigations done, and a lot of that money was through smurfing and overseas funds. So both are illegal. Smurfing and overseas funds.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
So midterms, I think, are going to turn out really well because I think Trump's smart enough to realize that if you can take away the money, they have no power.
Yeah,
and he's pushing them on all of the things that give them power.
Well, and getting rid of all those Social Security numbers.
Yeah, yes,
that's a big deal.
It is a huge deal.
I mean, that's just insane.
It is massive.
And the reason they didn't go to 100, which they actually should have gone to 100. They should have gone to 100.
Yeah, they should have.
But they didn't. But anyhow, that's a different story. So
it is.
Shall we move on to the next?
Yeah, what do we got next?
Coinbase.
Yeah. So jump off of politics. Since we like technology, Coinbase got sort of hacked, but not really, because most hacks aren't hacking anymore.
So this was a social engineering, which is actually the easiest.
So this is
thing.
the post from Coinbase themselves.
Yeah. If you look, they bribed and recruited overseas support agents. Okay, so
So what's that tell me?
Maybe you ought not to hire overseas support agents. What do you think?
Yeah, unless their access is almost nothing.
But obviously it wasn't because they did. But they didn't get a whole lot.
No, they didn't. But they tried.
But they tried. Yes.
What was the story a while back? You were telling me that one of the companies, either the companies you work for or a company you heard about, they had their servers in another country, and people would just steal them all the time.
Well,
physically, steal the servers.
It was a credit union that we were part of a long time ago. This was probably 20 years ago, but it was a credit union that we were part of, and they had hosted their servers in India.
Why?
And we got letters from them telling us this. This is how we knew this. They hosted their servers in India. Somebody went in on a weekend and physically picked the server up and walked out with it.
It's just...
And then they put a server back in the same place.
Just because it's cheaper doesn't make it better.
Yeah, it's these. Hopefully, one thing I'm really hoping for is there's a big blow up about H-1Bs and the work visas over here from overseas.
Well, he's pushing hard on technology. We can skip to that story next.
Hopefully, he starts to pay attention to that because it is not good. It's ruining.
So his new tariffs that he's putting in.
Yeah.
UK, that's a negotiating stance because they're just terrible. EU. Sorry, not EU.
Yeah.
You made a deal with the UK. It's the EU. EU. All right. But the ones that are interesting is he specifically called out Apple and Samsung.
Yes.
And said, you're getting tariffed on your products unless you make them here.
Yeah.
Which is huge. And the more tech he forces to put facilities here, it is a national security thing. Massive, because we don't make any chips here. And so if like Taiwan were to be attacked, or China decided to stop selling us stuff,
or China puts in the ability to do a remote call to solar panels.
In hardware.
I know, to solar panels? It just came out.
Exist already?
Yeah.
In a lot of the other products that we have that we didn't realize were from China. It's a national security risk because if those places get attacked, guess what? None of our stuff works. Yeah. And that's not just none of our stuff. That means like our missile systems don't work because we have to have chips in our missiles. We have to have chips in our defense systems. We have to have chips in our vehicles, cars, phones, everything. So we need to onshore manufacturing of technology. It doesn't have to be all here, but we need enough that we could actually do things here.
Yeah, if we get in a war with somebody, we don't rely on their stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's a Cold War where it's not active, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the next story. Great, we're great at segues here because we just, we easily,
We don't
lead
do
up to it.
segues. We just jump.
We just jump. That's true. Oh, that's the wrong button. There we go. So Trump signed an executive order for specialized nuclear reactors at an AI and defense facilities. This is awesome. This is something that is needed to be done for forever. There are so many designs of nuclear reactors that are small, that can do a lot of things, that we need more nuclear reactors. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about how people have come up with the ability to take the nuclear waste, refine it and reuse it, all the way to the point of the remaining waste is almost not nuclear anymore, or radioactive anymore.
Yeah.
So why don't we do nuclear? Because The Simpsons made it scary.
It was before that.
Well, yeah, a lot of things make it scary.
Yeah, it's the same thing as climate change.
Yeah.
It was made to be this doomsday thing, and yes, reactors can go critical and go like Chernobyl did.
Do you know why Chernobyl went bad?
Yeah, cheap build.
Nope. No, actually, I didn't verify this, so I could be wrong. But apparently the people running it were doing a pretty good job, and an inspector came in and said, that alarm, turn it off and turn everything off that went with it. And after that, it went nuclear.
Well, and the reason, though, it melted down was because they were using the wrong materials when they built it.
Yes.
They were using, instead of this grade of concrete, they used that grade of concrete instead of this.
Yeah.
And so they ended up, but anyhow.
Well, and the only other bad one was Fukushima, and the radioactive fallout from that wasn't not even close to as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Because it didn't go critical.
No, it didn't, but it still put nuclear stuff into the ocean, and we thought it was going to be terrible, and it wasn't as bad as possible.
Yeah, Godzilla hasn't showed up yet, so it's good.
But the media makes it terrible. They use like green ooze as the nuclear waste and all of this. If you're not aware, which you are probably, but I don't think our audience may be, the nuclear waste is just metal rods.
Could be just concrete too.
Just metal rods.
It could be chunks of concrete if it blows up.
Well,
but in reality, the waste is just like you said. It's
just a metal rod. What they take,
it's very radioactive.
They put it in concrete, surround it with concrete. Then they put that in something else, and then put that in something else. So anytime we've transferred a nuclear waste around the country, it's never breaking out of the containment and causing any issues, because if it falls off the truck, it's just right there, and you just pick it up and put it back on. Because it's not like this liquid that seeps into things. It's not. It's just metal rods.
Unlike our rail system. Sorry.
Well, that's,
So, as a segue for this signing it, where we live, Utah has...
We're getting a nuclear power plant.
We're getting a nuclear power plant, it looks like.
We don't want any notifications.
And so, hopefully
that executive order actually speeds this up.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we need more nuclear plants. We need a lot more nuclear plants. It's the best kind of energy. It's the cleanest kind of energy. Even if you don't talk about the ability for us to refine nuclear waste and reuse it, the amount of, not radioactive, what's the other term for waste that's bad? I can't think of it.
Blanking, so...
Hazardous. There we go. Hazardous waste. The amount of hazardous waste created by by power plant, nuclear power plants have way, way less hazardous waste than coal power plants, gas power plants, any other power plants. They create the least amount of hazardous waste.
Gas is pretty close. Natural gas.
They're pretty good.
It's pretty good. But yeah, they don't want us doing those either. So it'll be interesting to see if this gets built. It's down by Delta. If anybody wants to look it up. And
Delta?
Yeah. So hopefully, see the last line on the page there? How Delta residents feel about it.
So this is the other thing I hate. I worked for a sole source contractor for the Navy that dealt with nuclear material. And that was one of the biggest things they had to deal with is the not in my neighborhood crap. we need good marketing around nuclear because it could literally be in your back card and not cause you any issues at all.
Well, the interesting thing about Delta, people probably don't know, Utah's mostly desert. Delta's really desert. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And so if you were to put one out there, it's not like the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Fukushima.
Yeah.
That was right on the coast, and there's all this stuff built around it. Delta's kind of nothing.
Let's take a look at Delta, Utah on Google Maps. It didn't work. Hold on.
Just go to maps.google.
Is it really in the middle of nowhere?
Oh, yeah. You got a Delta Center. Yeah, Utah.
There we go. And then we want to
zoom out a
make
bit.
it layered. There you go. They can't see it. Yeah, there we go. That's Delta, and that's desert. All the way around there. It's a good place for it. Why don't we put like 5 of them there?
We have plenty of places like that in Utah.
Well, you know, there's all kinds of places here.
But anyhow, that's
that's exciting. I'm excited about nuclear. I like it. We should do it.
Yep.
So, what's our next story here?
I think we kind of.
Do you know what a genocide is?
Yeah, when one type of people, based on some outside criteria, is decided, another group decides to get rid of them all.
Like
so whatever that criteria,
ethnicity.
Correct.
I can't speak.
Ethnicity, or even a shade
or religion.
Religion. Yep.
Okay.
Anything that's outside of the individual, they decide that Muslims are doing that right now, and in some African nations, they're getting rid of Christians because they're Christians.
What about the Ukrainians and the Christians?
Yeah, what happened?
Is that a
to all
genocide
the
against
that was
the
pretty much
Christians
genocide.
in Ukraine?
Yeah, it was.
How many people have to die for it to be a genocide?
Well, I would say if there's the definition of genocide, I believe, is if there's 10 people of this group and you kill the majority of them, so you kill 9 of them, 8 of them, that's genocide because there's only 10 people of that group.
So let me ask you, before we get into this story, is it a genocide in Gaza?
That's hard to say. It probably is, but
I don't think they're not doing it for ethnic or religious or nationality reasons.
They want to do genocide against Hamas.
That's true, I guess.
But Hamas is not.
But it's not a genocide.
Religion?
It's not a genocide if the government of a country attacks you and
Correct.
you attack them back.
It's war.
Okay.
And that's the difference. It's war. Now, war can lead to genocide.
Yes, it can.
And I don't think they're trying to kill all the so-called Palestinians, because I call them so-called because there's no such land as Palestine.
No, there's not.
And there's never been.
Nope.
And so either they're Arabs from Arab descent or Jewish descent. And they don't want to kill them all. Israel doesn't. But they do want to kill all Hamas because of what Hamas has done for,
yeah, they're pretty pissed off about that.
Probably close to 80 years.
Yeah.
So genocide, it's a horrible thing to kill people.
Yes, it is.
It's a horrible thing to kill people in war.
Yes, it is.
And then it's really horrible to kill people that aren't in war, that are innocent.
For no reason?
For no reason.
For example, if there was a bunch of immigrants that had come to a country and they'd been there, 100 years or so, and their family had been there, and they bought some land, and they cultivated these large farms, and they've taken care of it, and they've been nice to the people around them. And then just because of the color of their skin, they started to be persecuted and killed. Would that be considered a genocide?
I could answer that in a very simple thing. If the colors were switched, what would happen?
So that's a not so subtle segue to our next story. And we're going to watch this because it is hilarious. And if you haven't watched it, it is hilarious. Let me see if I can get the audio.
From the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want.
So we need to preface this. Stop for a second. So Trump had a meeting with the president of South Africa.
Yes.
During that meeting of the president of South Africa, Trump confronted the president about genocide against white South Africans. And they've not been there 100 years. They've been there a lot longer, some of them, some of their families. But the South African president denied it. He said it didn't happen. So Trump literally said, turn the lights down. And they brought in this TV and they replayed all of the South African government, different members of the government saying, kill the Boer, which is the white man.
Yep.
And he was saying all, and they're there, and then the South African president just signed a law before he came over here that allowed them to take all of the white people's land in South Africa without compensation.
Yep.
Yeah. He just literally signed it before he came over. So he confronted him about this. They started to play this tape. Now you can.
Yeah, maybe we won't play it.
Yeah,
I can if you want.
What was funny about the whole thing in a twisted, we had an idiot reporter because Trump called him an idiot 3 times, I think.
Yes, at least.
And he, instead of asking a question about the genocide, he jumped to this, getting the plane from
Qatar.
Getting the plane from Qatar. And Trump's like, you don't want to talk about this? Man, you're an idiot.
No, the media has purposely tried to not talk about it at all, and that was the whole point of this meeting.
Yes, it was.
You guys will talk about this. Yes, there is a lot of people being slaughtered there. Yes, there is persecution based on skin color.
Yep.
And yes, that is racism, and that is possibly genocide because there have been thousands killed.
Yeah. And Trump did say it wrong when he was they were showing the video portion of it where this highway is lined with crosses. Yeah. He said these were graves. They're not. They're
representations.
They're cross representations of every white farmer, male, female, child has been killed.
Yeah.
And it goes on for miles.
Yeah. Thousands.
And it's horrific. But anyhow, it was, watch it yourselves, guys. It's well worth a watch just because of some of the funny stuff in it. Because Trump's Trump.
Yeah, he is. He is. We forgot to tweet that out that we were live. We checked that we were live.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah, oh, well, next time. Well, we'll get better at doing this thing. Oh, did you see that the wall behind us is
Look
painted?
at that right there on the bottom.
What?
On the bottom, right there, right where your cursor was, right above what's happening. Right above what's happening to the right.
This?
Up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're alive. We're there. That's because I subscribe to us.
Yeah.
That's why we're seeing right there.
There we are. Anyhow.
So yeah, I think there is a genocide in South Africa. I think there's a better case that there's a genocide in South Africa than there's a genocide in Gaza.
Yeah.
What happens in Gaza nice? No, it sucks. It's terrible. There's no good solutions, and anyone who has objections to what Israel is doing in Gaza has no real solutions for what they should be doing.
Well, there's a huge difference as well. In South Africa, the government is choosing to ignore and actively not prosecuting the people committing these crimes. They don't go after them.
Yep.
In Gaza, the Israeli government specifically tries to eliminate non-combatant death.
Yeah.
And they're trying to go after Hamas. Hamas is the cause, mostly, of non-combatant death because they put their gun storage and their bomb storage underneath a hospital. They'll put the hostages in families and make the families hold the hostages. And so this is horrific. I don't know how to deal with it. I would not want to be in the position to have to deal with it.
No longer our problem because we got all our hostages out, which made Benjamin Netanyahu mad.
Yes, because we no longer have any.
We don't have a horse in the race.
Yeah,
our horse went home.
I did. And I think it's great. Trump brought home. He brought home so many different people being held
Yes, he
hostage
did.
all over the world, which is, I didn't know about all these people.
Oh, I know. When he got into office, he got a bunch from Venezuela.
Yeah, and he
It's like,
just
what?
got somebody back from somewhere in South America as well that had been held for
So
3 years or something, and I'd never heard of him.
the auto pen was not a very good president.
Yeah,
That can segue into that story. We can talk about cancer. Want to talk about cancer?
let's talk about cancer.
I'll try to pull up the video. Go ahead.
So Joe Biden came out to counter the book that was released this week, about how they covered up his being not there. And in response to that, so he said he was stage 4 cancer, prostate cancer. In response to that, Scott Adams came out and said, I'm also stage 4 cancer. I probably will not live through the summer. And the other thing he said was, I hate to say this, but you anti-vaxxers were absolutely right. And so it's a horrible thing what's happening with him. He's stage 4 cancer. He has said that he is in so much pain, especially at night. And I understand that a little bit. That
Yeah, you had
can't
cancer.
sleep because you're hurting so much you just can't sleep.
Yeah.
And then the drugs they have you on, they make it so you have hot flashes, you've got your stomach's screwed up, all this stuff. And so it's great sympathy for both of them. Actually, I have sympathy for Biden. I don't want anybody to go through this. But it's interesting, and that's the other thing that many doctors have said, and Scott Adams, I believe, said, is that there's no way they didn't know about Biden's cancer
Oh, yeah. They interviewed
4 or 5 years ago.
They've interviewed several doctors.
Yes.
He had the cancer before he got into office, and
They quit taking PSAs in 2014,
which
means
they knew.
they
then.
knew. That's what it means, is that they
That's
quit
just-
taking PSAs. Because I have to have a PSA every
I
6
got
months.
a PSA blood test,
But I have to have one every 6 months for the rest of my life.
which makes sense because they want to be able to see if anything's happening.
Yeah. And so there's no way what have we been told about Biden is actually going on.
Yeah.
And so it's, like I said, I feel sympathy for both of them. I really do. I hope they meet Jesus before they die. And I do. I hope for both of them. Because Scott Adams is an atheist.
He is an atheist.
And I hope somebody comes and talks to him about Jesus and he gets to meet Jesus before he dies. I really do.
Yeah.
Same with Biden. I mean, Biden's not a
he's
nice
a
person.
Catholic.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
That's a different
He's
story.
a horrible Catholic, even if he is Catholic. So anyhow, that's
So we'll add the link to his video so you can watch it and see him explain that. But yeah, it's a massive cover up what happened with Biden in the White House, and he wasn't right in the White House. And there's been stories that the people who had control of AutoPen were taking bribes to pardon people. So if any of that comes out, guess what? All those pardons go away.
sort of. You've got to go all the way to the Supreme Court with it.
You
before it
do,
happens. But yes,
they're going to
ultimately,
probably say yes.
Yeah.
Because if people
he
are getting
was
bribed for
non-con. What's the term? Medical term. When you're not in your faculties, control your faculties.
mentally competent.
Yeah, if he's not mentally competent, and her said he wasn't mentally competent,
Yeah.
and that was midterm.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyhow, so it's
It's going
one
to
of
be
those
interesting. I really do hope that happens so that we can prosecute Fauci.
well,
Put him in jail.
another thing that came out this week,
Yeah.
speaking of Fauci, was they did a study on the VAERS system, which is the vaccine injury reporting system or something like that. And the estimate is that between 480,000 and 600 and some odd thousand people were killed by the vaccine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that
That's
was
huge.
awesome. awesome thing that the Trump administration is
All
doing?
those people killed?
No. They
Segways.
removed the approval for
Yes, they
the
did.
COVID vax for kids
Yes,
and
they did.
for young adults, and they increased the risk of heart issues with the
Yep.
vaccine for young adults. Come on, Robert Kennedy Jr., keep on working.
Yes.
We want to see all this stuff.
Kennedy Jr., just by what he said, has gotten, I think, 3 of the big food producers
Yeah,
to basically say within a month
they'll get rid of.
they're
Dyes.
switching to their European formulas for everything.
I want him to look at the baby formula.
Well, that is
That's a.
But
that's
just
a
the cereal,
hot
they're
mess.
switching cereal to the
oh yeah,
European
Fruit
formulas.
Loops.
Yeah,
That. Oh,
so it's going to change the look and the taste,
yep.
but they won't be quite so bad for you. Now, Fruit Loops is still going to have a ton of sugar in it, but so it's not going to be really good for you. But
I
it's
was watching something
it's not
the
going to
other
be
day.
quite so bad for you.
And someone was like, if we told our kids that when we were kids, our parents would let us dump a bowl of cookies and put milk in it
Milk
and
in
eat it
and
for
eat it for breakfast. Yeah.
they would look at us like we're crazy.
Or
Cookie crisps.
I can take a cake and make a cake for breakfast.
What
and
was that
call
for?
it a muffin.
Oh, yeah.
It's a freaking cake.
Oh, you got to get the big ones, too. You got to get
Yeah.
the real big ones.
Yeah,
Like
they're cake.
You got to get the big ones from Costco or Sam's.
Yes. So I'm saddened for these guys. I hope they meet Jesus before they die.
I agree.
I feel bad. I know I can't imagine what they're going through because I wasn't stage 4. Thank the Lord. But I never got vaccine, so that's why I wasn't stage 4.
Yeah.
Next story. After that,
After that disheartening story, we're going to lighten it up a bit.
yeah, go
What
to
are
Harvard.
So, if you didn't know, Trump is he's just having a fun time, having a real fun time with the
International students.
not just
and the
big
anti-Semitism.
schools, the big schools. in
Yeah,
the
but it's
country.
the anti-Semitism that's at these schools.
Yeah. So I don't want that. I hate that excuse.
What?
It's not good. Anti-Semitism isn't good.
Correct.
But the direction they should be going at it from is, if you don't like America, you don't get to be here. That's it.
Yeah.
That is as simple as it should be. You're on a visa and you say you don't like America, you don't have a visa anymore. Bye.
But one of the things that this program is doing, and I don't remember what the acronym is for when you come over and be a student,
Yeah.
is it stealing American jobs?
Oh, it
again.
is. 100%.
Because you can come over on a visa, be a student, and then convert that visa to a work visa if you graduate.
Yep.
And take an American's job.
Yep.
And it's horrible in the tech industry. It is absolutely horrible.
Yeah, we're funding other countries to send their kids here to take our jobs.
And then send money back to that other
Yep.
country.
Yeah, I hate the anti-Semitism excuse. I think that's dumb. The excuse should be, why should we give you a visa?
At all.
Why?
Yeah.
Tell us why.
And-
Better give us a good reason, because you ain't getting one otherwise.
And
It's
then
that
there's some
simple.
countries that it came out, the Chinese, which not a surprise, they're demanding that every student that comes over from China is a spy
Yes, they
for
are.
them. Because they hold their parents hostage, they hold their families hostage,
Mm-hmm.
and so they spy for the Chinese.
Well, and especially like Harvard, which no longer happens, but they used to get you large government grants to do government research,
Yes.
and these students would spy on that.
Yep. And send all of our IP back, intellectual property back to China for free.
Yeah.
So we spend all the money to get it, they get it for free.
Yeah, so a rug judge blocked this, but this is going to be unblocked because this is well within the purview of the executive branch to stop visas.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll point out, and I think a lot of people get wrong, is they're like, well, America has free speech, and so you should be able to come here and say whatever you want. If you're not aware, every action you take has a reaction. You are allowed to come here and say whatever you want, but we're also allowed to say, we don't want you here anymore.
Because of what you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there are consequences to your act. If I walk into, if I'm having dinner with my parents and my brothers, and I just start swearing at them and calling them names and pitching a fit, do you think my relationship with them is going to be harmed?
Yeah.
So words have consequences.
It's
No,
just-
words aren't violence. That's very clear. Words are not violence, but they do have consequences.
Well, it's just like the idiot Comey posting 86
Oh gosh, that moron.
47. And then he's like, oh, I didn't understand. But he got a meeting with the Secret Service, as he should have.
did.
He
Yes,
should
he
have
did.
had a meeting with your Secret Service.
So did Brian Krasenstein.
Yeah, and so words, you could say what you want, but there are consequences potentially to any words you say.
yes, because
So-
you can't just say whatever you want. And
You
also,
can.
there's no,
But not have
there's-
consequences.
There's never been unlimited free speech in America. If you weren't aware, back in the 80s, profanity was against the law. You could get arrested or fined for swearing in public.
Be nice to have it back.
I don't disagree with that. But our country has
Yes.
never been an absolutist free speech country.
Right, because they've always said you can't yell fire in a
So that's
crowded
actually not
theater.
true.
But you can.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
the
But that's
Supreme
what they
Court-
have always said.
That's what they have always said.
Yeah, and they used it as example. So anyhow, these idiot judges, hopefully the Supreme Court rules
They will.
fairly soon.
They've actually
that-
been doing pretty good. John Roberts just ruled in favor of Trump on something. I don't remember
yeah,
what
but
it was.
hopefully they rule on one of these and just shut it down. It'd
I
be
just want
nice.
the Supreme Court to be like, no more universal injunctions.
Yes, and that's it. They should. Yeah, that'll stop it.
But do they have the backbone for that?
I don't know. We'll see.
Probably not.
So here we go.
Probably
guns.
not.
You were on the right one.
So, this is the dumbest thing in the world. And I will not link directly to their story because I don't like Wired. They're a garbage magazine and publication. But they screenshotted it, so we're fine here. So they published a guide on how to put together a 3D printed gun. And I hate it. I love it because 3D printed guns can't be banned. They can't because you can't stop people from printing them.
Yeah,
Also, it wasn't the 3D printed gun, but they can't be banned.
but they're really not 3D printed.
No, but there are guides online
I
that
know.
show you how to do your own barrels and make
Yeah.
the whole thing and all that.
Something that we've been doing in this country before it was founded.
Yes.
Making our own guns, making our own explosives, making our own cannons, making a better military rifle.
So this goes back to our other previous story with the Hearing Protection Act.
Yes.
Do you think American citizens should be allowed to own nuclear weapons?
I don't think. Okay. So the
Under the Second
Constitution is written fairly clear. There shall be no infringement. None.
Do you think we should add something to the Constitution about nuclear weapons?
No, I don't.
And give us your explanation for why.
That was added in the Constitution is a direct result of the conflict with England and their military. And then the founders knowing that would keep our government in check.
What about sarin gas?
I think most people, if they tried to make it,
Would die?
die from it.
So there's
Not most people, all the people. 'Cause
So I agree with you, and I think from a practical perspective, the cost is prohibitive for nuclear weapons or most of these other things, and that will keep it out of most citizens' hands.
not just the cost, the precision that is required to make them.
Correct. So it's a big deal, but I think I'm agreeing with there. Yeah. What else we got? Oh, I'm excited. This is completely change of topic out of nowhere. I'm really excited about May 27th. Do you know why I'm excited about May 27th?
We're going to blow up another big rocket.
Yeah. If you haven't watched Starship launches, you should.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It's like a sci-fi movie.
It is. It looks like it's something on.
If you've ever seen that thing come through the atmosphere and practice to land, it's insane.
Yeah, and I would love to see it in person.
Oh gosh, that'd be awesome.
I would love to go down there and see this in person because you don't get the scale of it on a screen. I don't understand it, even though I understand that it's 400 meters or something like that.
It's insanely huge.
That doesn't.
It does not register in your head at all.
Well,
they just got their own city too.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It'll be interesting.
I think it's fantastic. It's terrifying at the same time, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. All right, I think we're down to the weird stories of the day.
Yep.
So this one here, let me open it up. This is from Not the Babylon Bee, which they're fun. Kentucky couple loses opposite arms because they were holding each other during a tornado. Isn't that sweet?
Yes. There you go.
It's insane. Oh man, I feel bad for them because of it, but it is sort of kind of sweet. I mean, I'm glad they like each other, but also they lost arms.
Yeah, it's just weird. But
so
they survived.
take a look at that, and they got a little story there. You should read up on it. All right, and then you've got this one. Hopefully, we can play the audio for you.
This is
all right, this is the
guy made the world's loudest keyboard, and so he can connect the sound mechanisms to anything. It's horrible.
I should get that for work so my employees know when I'm typing. I'm very mad. Type.
And then he connects it to firecrackers.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
It's horrible.
Well, that's all we have for today, unless you've got anything else you want to end with.
I think that's great.
If you like it, like and subscribe. Leave us comments. Feel free to share stories with us that you'd like us to cover or get our opinion on.
Absolutely.
And we'll give it to you, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
So that's all we've got for tonight. And we'll probably move to nights unless we decide otherwise.
Okay.
But there you go.
All right.
We'll talk to you
Take care,
in a
everyone.
couple weeks.